As the youngest of 7 children, I often felt like it was my birthright to complain. And I was on one of my adolescent rants one time, and my mother sat me down at the kitchen table and filled a glass halfway. She came back and set the glass down between us, and she said, "Half full or half empty?" And I got stuck on dumb for a second because, of course, it's a trick question. And my mother proceeded to say that, "Son, how you choose to answer that question is how you will live your life. Because your life will always be both half full and half empty. And if you choose to see your life as half empty, if you choose to see your life for the things that you don't have, then you will never fill your cup. But if you can see your life as half full, if you can recognize the things that you do have in your life, then your cup will fill up and it will overflow, and you can share that with others." This is kind of how I think about Tupac Shakur's poem, where he describes young people growing up in urban poverty as the roses that grow from concrete. And Pac says, when you see a rose growing in the concrete, you don't question its damaged petals. Of course it has damaged petals. It's growing in the concrete. Instead, you celebrate its tenacity and its will to reach the sun. Now, if we do nothing about this concrete, what we know is that some roses will still find their way through the concrete. But what we've done is we've begun to use the classroom as a space of intervention. And for the last 18 plus years, what we've attempted to do is to address the material conditions of kids in our community in the classroom, to add some additional resources down into the concrete through the cracks. More water, more light, more soil. And as a result, we've been able to grow more roses than most. The way that we've been able to do this is that we use a looping system. So we take cohorts of young people and we stay with them over multiple years. And so 3 years later, with our last cohort, what you see is that retention is up, college going is up, GPAs are up, all the measurables that we want in schools we're able to get. And when you compare that with the broader district data, you see that we have a level of uncommon success. Now this picture that you see right here is actually a picture of the last cohort, the day that they graduated. And they're on our porch at our house. And the little bubbles you see next to each of their names are the 4-year colleges and universities that they went off to. Now we have... Now we have people from all over the world come to our program to see how is it that we're able to reach this level of uncommon success. And I often feel like when they come in that they think that they're going to see us blow some pixie dust on kids, right? And that we just magically create no pixie dust. In fact, I was quoted once in the Oakland Tribune as saying, it's not rocket science, that we don't have pixie dust, and we don't have a magic wand, and we sure as hell don't do rocket science. I'm a social scientist, so couldn't even fool with it. Right? What we do is we go back to a basic needs framework. We go back to 1943 and Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Because Maslow was right. Maslow made it clear that if you don't address the lower levels of the hierarchy of needs, you can't find stability in the upper echelons of the hierarchy of needs. And the particularly interesting thing to me about Maslow's hierarchy of needs is the pinnacle. Because the pinnacle is self-actualization. And what we know from the research in education is that self-actualization is actually the precondition to long-term academic success. And yet when you look at this list of things that leads to self-actualization, not a public school teacher in this country is evaluated on their ability to do those things, even though the educational research is clear that these are the things that you have to do in order to get the things that teachers are actually evaluated on, which is higher test scores, higher GPAs, more engagement, et cetera, et cetera. But what we know after almost 20 years of this work is that it's not enough. And so we begun to think about what would it mean to take these principles that we've developed in our micro ecosystem and begin to think about them as a meta ecosystem. What would it mean to take these principles and institutionalize them and then surround that institution thinking about school as the center of our community, thinking about school and young people as the center of health in our community, and then wrap these services all around young people, all the services that any healthy community should have and deserves. Now, the problem with the educational system that we have in this country today is that it's based on a model of rugged individualism. But our program doesn't ascribe to that. Instead, we tell young people that we need you and you need each other. The two things that we regularly tell our young people is, one, we're going to be in your lives forever. They don't always like that one. Okay? And two is, we love you. Okay? And as a result of those kind of conversations with young people, as a result of a pedagogy in a classroom that's built on those ideas, compassion and love, so many of our young people over the last 18 years have returned to the community as doctors, as lawyers, as teachers, as veterinarians. Okay? And what we know from our work in East Oakland is that when roses come back to the concrete, they create rose gardens. Thank you.